Welcome to Unstoppable, where dreams turn into plans and plans turn into powerful action. Hosted by Paula Swain, financial planner, business owner, grandma, and queen of reinvention. This show is for women ready to stop surviving and start thriving. We'll laugh, we'll learn, and we'll tackle the messy, beautiful, in-between parts of life that no one really talks about, but we all live through. This is Unstoppable.
Hi, and welcome to Unstoppable. I'm Paula Swain, your host and financial planner with the Financial Center for Women. So today we're going to talk about being burnt out. I know most people have felt that way. I feel that way quite often, to be honest with you. So we have Dr. Margie Bryce with, I just went blank. So you can say where you're at, because I just totally wiped that out. And you know I just referenced it. So.
Yeah. Well, it's Bryce coaching, but I am a burnout prevention coach. So that's a specific niche, actually.
And how did you get to be a burnout coach?
Well, first off, I was burnt out. You know, these stories always start somewhere where you never, ever intended to go. And so I was burnt out and went through a recovery time, and at the end of that, I just looked back and thought, how did I do this? Because nobody ever intends to get burnt out.
Can I ask what caused you to be burnt out, or is it just everything?
Oh, no, you can ask. That's fine. I was in a leadership role, and I was a pastor at that time, and my task was to merge 4.5 congregations. Yeah. So I did do that, and I was excited to be a part of such a project. It really did get me invigorated. What ended up happening was we were worshiping in a school for 4 years. We found some property. That property was down to the studs and the wiring, which meant a renovation had to take place.
That's all you have to say.
No, but there's more. But
the renovation is enough to burn anybody out.
There was a renovation, but my funding entity required that I do a capital campaign at that same time, and I was passionate about being a congregation that was meaningful in the community. So we were doing community needs assessment kind of work, in addition to the regular routine stuff that you would do. So I was foregoing anything that had to do with keeping myself sane, healthy, because my to-do list was so blasted long that I just felt like, oh, I can't go to the gym. I can't do that.
You know, I was just talking with a client, God, it was earlier this week, and she's 59, and she comes in, and I looked at her, and I was like, you know, she didn't look like herself. And she says, can I retire? And I'm like, we hadn't planning to retire until she was 62. She goes, I just can't go to work anymore. She goes, I just feel like I'm working all the time, and I can't go to the gym. She goes, I can't do anything fun. You know, she's just she's totally just overwhelmed and burnt out.
Right. And a nap does not fix that.
Right.
Unfortunately, it really doesn't. And you rarely see yourself as heading towards burnout. I did a podcast weekly for 3 years. It was called the Crabby Pastor Podcast, because you better do your self-care or you will be the crabby pastor. And who wants to do that, right? Who wants to be crabby?
I didn't know you were a pastor.
Yeah. And so not currently. But yes, I did serve for about 10 years in different capacities. So nobody sees yourself going into that. There's several episodes on there called Back from Burnout Stories, and the brave pastors who had burnout and who are willing to talk about it, because there's still, I think, a bit of shame associated with it.
Being burnt out, or as just being a pastor and being burnt out, or just anybody being burnt out?
I think specifically it's caregivers, of which pastors go under that umbrella. You know, you're talking about your EMS, first responders, healthcare providers, nurses, doctors, anybody who has that orientation of I've got to help other people. We're especially bad at at self-care related things so that we prevent
Yeah.
burnout. But nobody in any of those back from burnout stories, none of them knew that's where they were heading.
So why do you think that they're embarrassed to admit that they were burnt out? I mean, I have no problem saying, God, I'm overwhelmed. Or God, I'm just...
Right. Well, I think I can speak for pastors for sure, is that you sort of feel like you're above that and it's not going to happen to you.
Right.
I think that could be true for other kinds of caregivers as well, but I can only speak to that group where you just think, I just got to keep moving, and you feel like a lot depends upon you to make things happen or to help things happen. Let's say it that way, to be fair. And you just don't see yourself. I know I talked with one guy who had been in ministry for 25 years, and he did not see it coming at all, but COVID really did him in, between losing some family members. I mean, this guy was putting ladders up next to nursing homes and climbing up 2 floors to pray with people. I mean, he was really, and he had great intent, but it's just like when you get on a plane, the oxygen masks drop down, should they drop down, you want to put that
Right.
on yourself first. And that is not an orientation that I think it's challenging a bit for caregivers.
I would agree, because even with when you see somebody that's in a long-term care situation or at-home care, that the caregiver sometimes passes away or becomes very ill before the person that they're taking care of because they don't take care of themselves.
Absolutely. And I know my husband last year had some major surgery, and I was very intentional this time to make sure that I continued to go to the gym. And it's not just about food and exercise. I think it's a mindset. I really do. I think we are infected with the North American productivity mindset. We've got to keep moving. We've got to keep going. Just the idea of saying to somebody, just sit at your desk for 5 minutes and do nothing. That can short circuit somebody's brain, I'm sure.
Not mine.
So just sit there and do nothing for a minute, because we feel like we have to be productive all the time, even on days when I don't feel like I've done too much. I'll say to my husband, well, it wasn't a very productive day. And I have to check myself and say, why do I frame it that way? It's okay. It really is okay.
So we just had, I think it was 2 episodes ago, Tara Andowski was on the show, and she was talking about finding joy. And that's almost like kind of what you're talking about, is that even though at the end of the day, you said, I wasn't productive today, but really you were. And if you had looked back and said, well, I did this and I did that, how it might have had a different reaction for you before you went to bed and felt like you hadn't accomplished anything, when you really probably accomplished a ton.
Or maybe you didn't accomplish much, and it's okay.
Yes.
I think having the ability to say that is important as well. But you certainly have trouble finding joy if you're burnt out, for sure. I mean, you're a lot snappier about little things. You're just feeling overwhelmed and anxious, and kind of like that hamster that runs and runs and runs, and you don't even think about, gee, maybe I ought to get off the wheel for a minute.
So how do you get off the wheel?
That is by looking at yourself in the way of the oxygen mask that drops down when you're on the airplane, and saying, I need to take care of myself. I'm finite. I have limitations. I really do. And acknowledging that. And, we go and trade our cars in all the time, But we get one car on planet Earth for us to ambulate around on. And so we need to take care of it. And it can't be like some people I know that if the car makes a funny noise, you just turn the radio up louder and louder so you can't hear the funny noise and you don't take care of it. We can't be like that with ourselves. We have to make sure that we can continue to do everything that we want to do in life and have some joy while we're doing it. So we need to, that's what I learned. I learned that it was a bigger priority to be about that and be intentional. And I think, the older you get, you see that a little more clearly. It's like if I could go back and tell my 40-something self a few things, here's what I'd say.
Right.
I need to this and this. And, it's tricky. I've learned a lot of things because I don't do it perfectly all the time. Nobody does. But you still have to have an intention and a bent and develop a mindset towards that kind of self-care so that you don't wander inadvertently to the land of burnout.
But if somebody's listening to this today and they're like, got it, they're like, I can resonate with that. I can understand exactly what she's talking about. What would you say to them? Like, what would be the number one thing you would say to them if they're listening today and they feel that they're burnt out? What can they do to stop it at that moment?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And you're right. I mean, the recipe for burnout, if I can say that first, is to run at a high rate of speed, fast pace, while you're carrying a heavy load. And you just keep going and keep it. That is the recipe for burnout. So I think to stop and take a moment to reflect on everything that you are responsible for. And I've given that actual assignment. I was working with a group of younger moms than myself. And I said, seriously? They said, no, we're not going to do that. And I said, yes, you are going to do this. Write a list of everything you're responsible for. You can go ahead and categorize some things and just look at it very reflectively and assess how much you're carrying in your backpack, because you're probably carrying quite a bit. And then go through a process of analyzing which things do I need to carry right now and which things don't matter for another 6 months, 3 months down the road, and why am I carrying that too? So that you're more present and focused in the moment, and then slow down. And we have a really hard time with that. I took a yoga class, and I just, for a long time, thought, I don't even think I could do this, because I learned I could not slow down. It was very difficult for me to slow down. Or spring finally happens in Michigan, finally. And then you find yourself getting out of the car in the grocery parking lot, and you're hoofing like a mad person to the door. And I thought, why am I doing this? Why can't I just slowly saunter into and enjoy the weather that is not sub-zero, like it is right now? So looking at how much you're carrying your load and the pace, how fast you're moving.
I hear what you're saying, but do they do it? Like, I think to stop and say, okay, write this down. Do you think somebody actually will sit and do it if they're not working with someone? Do they?
That's the challenge. That's a challenge, and that's why I work with clients. I'm accredited with the International Coaching Federation, so I can do broad-based coaching, but I'm more inclined to assess and help somebody if I can pick up that that's what's going on, that they're out of balance. So it does help to be working with somebody, because sometimes you can't see your own stuff. That's what was true with the Back from Burnout episodes that I did. It was other people that, not necessarily a coach, but maybe coworkers that said, hey, do you think that was kind of an overreaction to that little thing that you just did? Or, hey, I see you running around here like a maniac. Is that a good idea? How long can you keep that up? It was other people that brought that to their attention. And then coaches work with people. It's not like a soccer coach where you're telling people what to do. You're helping people who get stuck in their own rut of thinking and you listen closely and ask the kind of questions that help them to see that there really are more solutions to their situation than their little rut mind of thinking is telling them. And it's an hour to slow down and focus on that one issue, because sometimes that's a challenge too, is to just slow down. And you'll say, I know I need to work on this. I know I need to look at that. I know I need to dig into that and explore that more and understand more, but we don't necessarily do it.
Okay, so I'm trying to think, like, if I'm a person who can't hire a coach, if it's because of money or just won't even grasp that concept, because a lot of people and Americans don't grasp the concept of hiring people to help you. And I'm a mom. I have kids. I have a full-time job. I have soccer after this. I have this after that. And I find us on YouTube, and then you say, sit down and write it out. And I'm like, I have the best intentions. I'm going to sit down and write out everything I have to do and categorize it. And I'm going to look at that. And then I'm going to go, yeah, I'm probably not going to get that done. And then, but is there, like, just, even if I don't start there, is it maybe just scheduling a half an hour a day for yourself? Or, like, I mean, is there just something so simple that you can start today that...
I like what you said about scheduling, writing it in as if it's just as important as, say, the trip to the dentist or the pickup at the end of the school day. I really do like that piece of what you said there, because I think it's worth scheduling the time to take care of yourself.
I think a lot of women forget to do that.
Oh, yes. It's a caregiver. Being a mom especially is a caregiver, and women generally have that kind of bent of let me help you kind of thing going on. But I
think even if we're not in a caregiving situation, I mean, for myself, I live alone, I work, and I still get burnt out, and I'm not taking care of anybody. I'm taking care of myself, and I have to make sure that, you know, if I'm being completely honest, I haven't been to the gym in a couple weeks because I'm just, I know we're filming this in January. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but in Michigan right now it's freezing. And it's not that, I don't know that I'm burnt out as much as that taking the time to even go to the gym because it's so cold. And then when I don't go, then I feel bad. And then I try, you know what I mean? And then you try to get the rest of your day, and I'll get it done later, but then you work on this, and this person calls, and that person calls. And before you know it, the day's over. And I don't know if that's burnt out or poor scheduling, but it kind of feels the same way. It's like you're running a race.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
And it would be better if I could just take that time in the morning, like I say I'm supposed to, even if it's writing a gratitude journal or find joy in something, or better for me to go to the gym.
Well, you know, I mean, we can pick on the gym all, you know, you can wait until, you know, talk about the gym. I mean, for me, it's been quite a few years of slow progression, and I'm still, you know, whatever. But I want
Could be a walk. Could be anything.
It could be a walk, well, not outside, a walk around Great Lakes Crossing or something, you know.
Yeah, at least
it's
right
a
now.
Mile. It's a 1 mile lap around that.
At least in wintertime in Michigan, but in the summer and the spring. And I think just even going for a walk and it's great if you don't put your headphones in and you just walk and you listen to the things that are going around you and you breathe. And that's a huge help too.
Sure, and yeah, making sure that you're present in the moment, because even when you have the earbuds in, and I listen to podcasts and, you know, whatnot all the time, but sometimes, like you said, just being present in the moment. The young moms group that I was leading, they were the ones that picked up their phones and waved it at me. It was a Zoom group, and said, this gets in the way. This gets in the way a lot. It gets in the way of being present totally in the moment.
Right.
And we just can't, our brains can only do so much. We are finite. We have definite limits going on there. But that is why I also advocate for, I have a pretty holistic idea of what self-care or burnout prevention looks like. And one thing includes finding a creative outlet, intentionally scheduling it, and doing that kind of work. And for me, I ran into some stained glass, and I do stained glass work. Anything where you're creating something and you enjoy it so much that you lose yourself in it. I'm famous when I have stained glass workshops that I say to people, you can only think about this, or you'll get cut if you're not paying attention, but you can only think about one thing.
Pay attention because you're going to get harmed.
Yeah, pay attention, focus. But when you focus just on one thing and you're involved in creating, it's actually very restful for your brain, because when do our brains do just one thing anymore?
I don't think, do they do anything? I guess. Even in meditation, my brain is not ever thinking about, it's always going. My brain's always going. And I had someone tell me, because I keep saying my brain's always going, so it's never going to shut off. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to stop.
It is. It's very hard to stop. It's hard to go slow. And that's why it's good to pull yourself out of that fast pace somehow and just focus on one thing. You're talking about a 10-minute walk outside, even that, but there are times in my life I would say, I don't have time for that. I can't do that. My to-do list is way too long. Helping yourself reset like that and find some calm is going to help you to come back into your living situation and working situation better than you were before.
So in the beginning, it might be more than, I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk. It might be scheduling time with a girlfriend or someone that you're going to have to meet them for that walk, which will force you to do it.
Yeah, and as far as the gym goes, I know for me, I have to pay money and go somewhere and see people and do it together, or it will not happen. I mean, I have a bike, I have weights, but I am more faithful when there's other people. And actually, when you're all in a class together, you get your endorphins going and you actually bond with the people around you. It's kind of an interesting article I read about that in the Atlantic, saying that. And I thought, oh, well, this explains why, you get excited about your class.
I think that goes with anything. I mean, anytime that you get an opportunity to go and do anything that you find enjoyable, like I was trying to think of one thing that makes my mind completely shut off, and it is when I Deb Voigt has that Maple Farms horse farm in Holly, and so I started taking horseback riding lessons.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, you cannot think about anything else.
That's right.
When you're on that horse, because if not, you're going to end up on the ground.
Oh yeah, that is it exactly. But you have to be, very, very intentional about making that a priority. It's not just like when I have free time, maybe if everything goes right, I might. You have to be saying, make that appointment with yourself to intentionally slow down and be present in the moment. And even if you just do little things, it's going to make a difference. There's a book that I like to reference, James Clear's Atomic Habits. And he talks a lot about habit stacking and all these kinds of things. But the one chart I like in his book a lot, because I like charts, is where you continue to increase what you're doing by 1%. Now, I think he's a weightlifter, so that goes to numbers for him, so he can slowly lift more and more and more. The interesting thing is, if you actually do nothing, you start to lose ground. And anybody over a certain age is going to say, I need help getting back up and down off the floor, Because like, when do you do that? Once your kids are a certain age, you're rarely on the floor getting up and down, and you lose that. So there's a lot to be said for how he integrates that idea into, and how I like to take his idea and integrate it into burnout prevention, so that you are continuing to say, you know, I have to do these little things, because the little things will stack up and mean a lot for your sense of calm as opposed to chaos.
Okay, give me 3 examples of little things.
Little things like stopping for 5 minutes and not doing anything. And I sometimes I get so whipped about doing whatever it is I'm doing online, that just the idea of stopping for 5 minutes is something that I don't do. You can do some stretches in your house. This is what my yoga instructor would say. When you're at the sink, and she says she even has some things on YouTube where it talks about just little things, take 5 minutes and do something. I've heard it said that you should go and do at least 20 to 30 minutes of something that you enjoy every day.
But if I'm burnout
Every day.
and I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you,
Mm-hmm.
I might say, okay, I can do that today, and I do it. And then tomorrow I'm just running that rat race again, and I don't. I think the hardest thing for people is
Sure. If you're really in it, if you're really entrenched in it, then I would suggest getting a counselor to work with, so that maybe you can explore some of the deeper driving things that got you there. It's always good to examine. Everybody's got baggage. We all carry our baggage around with us. Yes, everybody's got baggage.
I don't know about that. I don't have any. I'm sure you don't.
But you have to examine your baggage and know and understand, and I'm talking about building self-awareness here, and know and understand your baggage. Oh, that's why I do that. You know, why are you somebody that has an issue that you have to keep performing for some reason? There's something that's driving that. So if you're in it, I would suggest that. I'm always going to suggest being part of kind of a reset group, and I do that kind of a group coaching where, you know, once a month you meet with a group, and it is a lower cost kind of thing where you can connect with other people that are just kind of working on this. Mm-hmm. And every session we talk about a different topic, and it's not about doing the whole list, you know, because I always look at everything you're supposed to do, and then you're supposed to floss your teeth too, you know. It just feels overwhelming at times. But if you're just kind of journeying and learning how to slowly knit these pieces into your life and have that mindset that it's okay, in fact, it's really quite important to do this. You have to take care of the one vehicle that you have for this little jaunt on planet Earth.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear everything you're saying, and I think of the client of mine that I met with, and I kind of was saying the same things to her, and it's really about, I find that helps me with burnout is making sure that I kind of stay in a routine when it comes to taking care of myself. Now, granted, I haven't gone to the gym in a couple weeks, but I will get back on it because it does become a habit. But you know, I make sure to journal and to, you know, take time to text your children and talk to your grandchildren and reach out to a friend. Sometimes that just kind of helps you refocus. For myself, and kind of be present in the moment with them. Yeah. And you know what? Throw that damn phone away.
Yeah, you know, you're just like, I don't know. I have my husband's got notifications going. And I said, you know, you can turn those off. I have all of my notifications off because I'm just like, I do not want that phone telling me when I'm going to look at it. It's bad enough that I look at it, who knows how many times on my own, but I just don't need it chirping at me. But I'm the person that also doesn't have the, the MapQuest on my car. I don't want it telling me when to turn. I'll glance at the screen.
Hey.
I just don't want the.
I need to know when to turn.
I just don't want it telling me that.
Oh,
So,
it doesn't tell me. I glance at the screen too. But, we've got to go. It's time.
Okay.
I know it goes by fast, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
It does. So let everybody know how to get a hold of you.
Yes. MargieBryce.com. That's MARGIE, and it's Bryce, like BRYCE. .com, and you'll find I'm trying to integrate the two more fully, the stained glass and the coaching practice. They all come under the umbrella of burnout prevention. And this is a local station, right?
But it is on YouTube. So if anybody's in Waterford, or no, where you're at,
my workshop's in my home in Oxford.
Okay, so anybody in the Michigan area that is close to Oxford, you could check out her website. I know I'm going to sign up for a stained glass class. I haven't yet, but I know that I'm going to, because I already mentioned it, and I usually do everything I say I'm going to do. Maybe not always, but most of the time. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today. This has been Unstoppable, where we dream, grow, and thrive.
Thanks for watching Unstoppable. Do you have a question for Paula? Send it our way. To schedule a one-on-one consultation, give us a call. Unstoppable is brought to you by Paula Swain and the Financial Center for Women. Dream, grow, thrive.